Erik? Perfect. Now I can't see the audience, so I don't have to be nervous. Welcome to Tripod. My name is Lynn, Nino. The bathrooms, there's some back through this door and downstairs. If you have a cell phone, please turn it off. These presentations are recorded on YouTube. So if you're on my email list, when I send you the next invitation, at the bottom there'll be a link, and you can follow that to a list of all the shows. And if you're not on the list, there's a sign up on a clipboard back in the corner on that table where those flowers are. So thanks for coming. So first up tonight are Shannon Eakins and Marc Dombroski, who work as artists and designers based in Tacoma. They jointly own and operate Slush Club, a ceramic studio focusing on handmade narukami patterned dinnerware and functional objects. Their collaborative projects have been exhibited at the Tacoma Art Museum, Fulcrum Gallery, Fifth Wall Gallery in Las Vegas, and Gallery Homeland in Portland, Oregon. They are currently developing a new installation for the Tacoma Art Museum to be on view as part of the exhibition Soft Power, opening in October 2023. Their 2009 exhibition, Fantasm, Chasm, explored Tacoma through an immersive installation including salvaged objects and ephemera, as well as an image archive of over 700 photographs capturing their exploratory looped run across the Murray Morgan Bridge, through the tide flats, wading into the Thea Foss waterway, and back again. They will not be showing all 700 images, by the way. Acting as pseudo-ethnographers, this work and their processes explore the fragmentary and living histories of these sites, as well as transforming communities and mythologies, all while searching for inroads to commune and new points of contact, navigating and interrogating the ways that people move through their spaces are open questions in their practice. Shannon and Marc.
Hi. So, thank you for having us. This has been a really fun thing to revisit because we just recently moved back to Tacoma after living in Michigan for too long, 10 years. Yeah, so being able to go back into our time capsule and see these images of us, going back to the place that we wanted to come back to when, things fell through in Michigan, and we said, where do we want to be? We want to be back in Tacoma. So clearly, we weren't finished with this town. So we just wanted to say a couple things just to prime you, and then just show the images. That way, you can have the experience that kind of we had making it, where we're, either taking a walk and that's it, or we're like having a mystical experience, and you can decide, because it's kind of somewhere. That's the chasm, I think. That's So this is us starting on the 11th Street Bridge. We lived in the Perkins building, which was right there. So we walked pretty much every Sunday through the tide flats, and then the show that we had at Fulcrum Gallery in 2009 contained a lot of found objects that we did collect on these walks. And so you'll see us trying to interact with these materials that we're finding as if they are some kind of artifact.
What some of them were?
Yeah, like look for railroad ties, because that is us playing. Both of us try to show us throwing railroad ties. I don't think the work glove images made it in. But we did, and also the rotten boards from the bridge. And anything, can you think of any other?
Yeah, but I don't know.
Okay, so yes. Yeah, we're interacting with stuff.
Do you want to describe what, like how this came to be?
Yeah, why don't you, okay, why don't you, I'm gonna tag you in.
So the presentation you're going to see is, it's not 750 images, it's about 67, 69, 70 images, something like that. I was telling some of our friends, we spent most of today trying to edit these to fit into this. This is from a CD from 2009. I thought this would be about half an hour to put this together. This took me over 6 hours today. So enjoy it. So actually the last thing I guess I would say about it is the PowerPoint wasn't originally one of the works in the exhibition. When we showed this at Fulcrum, it was a number of sculptural pieces. It was an installation that you would walk around. I keep looking at this like something's going to happen. But we were asked to do an artist talk there, and decided that the work was very personal for us. And we had lived in Tacoma and researched it. And I mean, I think we all have stories of Tacoma that we share and don't share. And so we wanted to have our artist talk be simply a visual experience. So we shot this in a single day. You'll see it's a loop. And just showed the images. We didn't speak at all for our artist talk. Oliver Doris, that owns Fulcrum Gallery, is also a DJ. And we had him DJ a new set. So he played music, we showed the pieces, and that was the whole thing. So we're giving you all the talk now. You may have questions afterwards, but we're not going to speak through the images. So we'll just play them all through, and hopefully we'll all go somewhere.
Okay, yeah.
Is that good?
Yep, yep.
Okay, I was told this has forward and backwards and not to touch any of the other buttons.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Fantasm Chasm. Erik, that was so dramatic. Oh, now I'm going to start over. This is Fantasm Chasm. Okay.
Yep.
Nothing's changed.
Right.
Did you have a question?
No, it isn't really a question. It's amazing you're alive after getting into the water.
You know, it felt wrong. It was it's one of those things where it's just like with when you get in the water and it's prickly, and yeah, it's just like, okay, but we were in character at that point, and so we were just doing these things that, being super ornery like we wouldn't normally be, and so yes, it just was like my character goes in the water, so that's what happened. Yeah.
And what year did you shoot this?
2009.
Would you retrace this to see how it's changed?
We did, actually not long after we had moved back, because we live right at the end of Theophos now, and but in walking through there, it feels much more invasive in a lot of ways, because the community in the Tide Flats has really changed, yeah. Some of those places are still there. Some of the things like the, like we mentioned like the railroad spikes, for example. We picked those up. They're all loose there. Those were in the show. We brought those. We took a bunch with us and polished them, and we're interested in kind of about that history and sort of looking at old and new. I know you have a lot of them still, right? But to your question, when we moved back, a friend and I drove back, and we'd held on to a bunch of the spikes, and I took them back. I was like, the stockpile that we had, I was like, they're not ours, right? Like they're Tacoma's, so they're still there, and some things have changed, some things that aren't, so it's interesting.
Did you shoot it in black and white?
We did, we did, and we didn't script it. We had walked it and kind of knew where we wanted to go, but we tried to do it in real time as well. So Shannon was running, and I'm keeping kind of pace with her and stopping, and she's getting away from me, and I'm having to kind of keep up. But we wanted it to have that sort of tension of being followed also, that there would feel like really good to go.
It's interesting, I remember it, but it turned out I didn't remember it because I didn't remember that it was all you, Shannon, and then it's all Marc coming back. And that was really weird. I was like, oh, that's really strange that that'd be the one thing I wouldn't remember. To me, I remember it just kind of all parts and parts. And I kept going, well, where's Marc? Where's Marc? Just hearing it.
And
We wanted to be like, we wanted there to be a question whether we were the same person or a different or different people, or.
I think you look better in the shirt, and I feel like your long sleeve shirt. I put on a short sleeve shirt.
Yeah.
There's some issues with continuity. But we thought of, we ended up showing this at TAM as a video piece, so it was shown as a loop, and which we designed it also to be sort of a loop of slides, but that hinge point for us was going into and coming out of the hut, and the postcard image for the show at Fulcrum was both of us superimposed, so it was as though neither of us were in, or both of us, or whatever was happening. Yeah.
But we haven't. I don't know. I don't have the heart to find out whether that hut is still there or
It
not.
is.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then I guess we can.
Changed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They got rid of lots of the blackberries. So.
Yeah.
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 That's
I've noticed that.
I would like to know how. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
When Marc said he spent 6 hours today culling the show, that reminded me to tell you that nobody gets an honorarium. They come and do these shows. It's a tremendous amount of work, and we really appreciate it that you come and see them. So next is Mario Lorenz, who is versatile, flexible, and occasionally funny. He once fell on a cello for the Atlanta Symphony. and he was a finalist in the Captain Kangaroo competition. Mario has traveled nationally and internationally, entertaining audiences across the U.S., Canada, Mexico, Cuba, and Morocco. He has entertained in nightclubs, at festivals, fairs, and for major corporate events. He was on Northern Exposure, America's Funniest People, America's Most Wanted, the Olympic Games, and the Atlanta and Seattle Symphony, and more. He is a funny guy, and his humor levitates an audience to an experience of joy and exhilaration. He toured the country with his comedy show called Lambert the Janitor. Then he landed in Austin, Texas, where he held a position in Esther's Follies, performing 2 7-minute spots, twice a show for 4 years, doing 6 shows a week. Do the math. Then his daughter was born and everything changed. But the past is prologue. Mario has been working in one form of show or event for over 50 years. His most recent have to do with producing events. For example, Jubilee Days in White Center, 7 years. Meeker Days in Puyallup, 3 years. Art on the Ave, 6th Avenue, 4 years. Hilltop Street Fair, his baby, 6 years. Maritime Fest, 10 years. Moon Festival, 2 years. Salmon Days, Issaquah, 4 years. Ballard Seafood Fest, 6 years. Day of the Dead on 6th Avenue, 8 years, along with his wife, Frances. Events are important. They have kept him on the streets. Mario?
Well, thank you. Thank you. That was incredible. Boy, have you got any breath left, huh? That was kind of, this is the way I open the show. Right? And usually I get it right. So, I'm getting, yeah, there we go. So, events are very important. They're very important. I want to give you some of the examples. They give us a sense of place. They give us, there's a tangible ripple effect in them. They give neighborhoods a sense of identity. They give business districts a sense of identity. They give us visibility and pride. They bring us together. Artists can demonstrate and exhibit their work. Bands can play. And how safe is your event? Got barricades? How about security? That's what's going on these days. So then, this is one of the ones we did just about a year ago on 6th Avenue, Dia de los Muertos. And that's been going sporadically. We did it in 2002, 3, and 4, something like that. And then it dropped, and we went to 14 and 15 and did it a couple more times. And now we did it, there's been 2 years for Dia de los Muertos. So that's, that skipped a couple there. Now it's moving on its own. Good, let's go back, let's do that one. Stop that. That's, okay, start that. Okay, now I got it, all right. We'll stop and, are you blinking yet? So this is Katrina and her dancer and her daughters, and it moved again. Oh boy, it's really touchy, Erik. Okay, there we go. Let's just go back and forth for a while, shall we? Okay, this is the altar that Francis orchestrated, and this is me juggling. I think it wants to move on its own, so I guess I'll just let it go. All right, there we go. This is, yeah, things are always up in the air in my life. I don't know how that ball got up there, actually, but there it is. Yeah, this is the list that she gave, most of it, so I won't go into that any more detail. Let's see here. But this is the first event that I was involved in when I was a child. This is the Viola Gopher Cup. And yeah, I know, and it's about 150 years old coming up in the near future. You can see they had, I couldn't wait for that event to come around, and this is when I was a child. So I think that's how I got into the event business. That's where it started. These are some of the things that happened. They did bingo. This is family gathering. This actually are my nieces and nephews and uncles and aunts and my cousins, and this is only about half of them. So the families get together. That's a big deal there. This is, they have a doll buggy parade. My little sister is a doll of a gopher count. Can you imagine having somebody? Don't imagine that. Don't do that. So, and they also put a horse onto the stage and carried him around. So it's pretty incredible. This is, and they had marching bands. This is where I was from. It's a town of about 100, and seriously, it's about 100 people in the town, and it's been going on since, I think it was 1874 when it started. These are my friends. Phil on the left was the drummer in my sideshow, a company I built, and we performed at Renaissance fairs and all kinds of places around the city of Minneapolis and that. Mike on the other side, Mike Stone, he was one of the jugglers I taught how to juggle. And he had a brother. They worked together, and they were called the Stone Brothers. So we love events. So this is where fools like me come to play. It gets complex, and I become a producer. Just think about that. Okay, that's long enough, all right? So this is how the Hilltop Street Fair got started. We did a series of 3 concerts in 2013, and it started, we called it Hilltop Heat. This is one of the slides from it, and we got marimba bands and put it in a lot next to a church, next to the AME church. And we ran a cord out and made the thing work. Then, yeah, this is kind of, these are just kind of some slides of what was going on at the time. We had these planters, and they were, anyway, they needed to move. Now, over here on the side, Patricia Lacey Davis, maybe some of you remember her, she said we should put some things on the wall and let people write about what they want to see in Hilltop and what they want things to happen. And so that's what that's about over there. They were making a list of that. And, of course, this is Mr. Max Ltd. He was always a big sponsor, and maybe some of you recognize Lynette and her daughter Kessa, who's a big girl right now, and she's over in Dubai. Yeah, Dubai. She's over in Dubai studying. That's what she's doing. She's studying. So let's see. And, you know, in 20, I like that. That one's moving. Those girls did move a lot, too. Yeah, they were. They were moving all the time, as a matter of fact. That was Topo, and they were. I think they were from the and they weren't Philippines, but they were dancers, and he brought the group, and I used to book them several times. This is Steve and Christy Niebel, and this is the drum section, William Hines and his group, and so we always tried to bring them into different events, and they were there in 2013. Yeah, this shaped our future, and we are all one. It's pretty incredible. So the first year of the street fair was 2014, and that was the poster. It was born. And then the car show had 5 cars the first show, and the board wanted to cancel the car show. I said, you got to try it for at least 3 years, otherwise it's not worth doing the first year. So they agreed, and after that we had 150 cars by the time, more like 130 by the time we did it 3 years later. So it kept growing each year. We had a fashion show. This was just an incredible sight that the owner of the Broken Spoke put up a ramp, and I don't know if any of you got to that event, but those bicycles, they were really flying in the air. There was a truck with a ramp, and people would go up and down on it. It was dangerous is what it was. It was really dangerous. But you know, what's an event without danger? And then, of course, the fashion show was born, too. We had that for about 3 years running. This was me in the backyard. I I had a guy from Morocco that had pigeons. And well, anyway, that's really doesn't have anything to do with anything. I just thought I'd throw it in. So this is year number 2 with the Hilltop Street Fair. Everything got a little bit better. Yeah, I like that. An event is a very nice distraction, a social distraction, where we can share mutual observations of our collective journey that we're all on, and think, of course, of what we, well, you read it, okay? I'm not having a good opportunity to read here. So we were forming partnerships in Hilltop at the time. So that was very important in the community to work with different people. So, and I always liked this guy. He was the minister that had 2 first names. It's Pastor Gregory Christopher. So he was with Shiloh, and he was always helpful. And then this was an impossible dream here, these people together. Anyway, I'll go. And then this was somebody from the group health, not group health, but I'll think of it later, and you can ask me then, okay? But we were forming, she wanted to do a marathon race, and we almost did that in the 16, I think in 2016. And of course, Red Elm was on board. This was their second year. They'd been open for 1 year at this point, and so they were always a vital part of the street fair. This is year number 3 for the street fair. The posters, as you can see, got a little more intricate, a little more up to speed, and we got all the activities and the sponsors on the bottom of the poster. It was pretty cool. Now this, I don't know if you recognize this, but this is the Rite Aid building. I used to give tours because we were so tired of it being empty and the vacant lot and all that, so we actually got people to look at it and got people interested in the idea of I don't think it wants me to go back, so so I'm going forward. So anyway, the Rite Aid lot now is an art studio and a dance studio. It's pretty cool. Hey, stop moving! I can't keep up with you. So this was one of my it's really touchy, isn't it? Yes, it is. I wanted to talk about this for just a moment. Unity through diversity became one of the most popular themes. And we had luncheons to get publicity and promotion for the event, and that helped a lot to make things, we had about 150 people, sponsors and that sort of thing, and we serve a really good dinner, and it was very good. Boy, you just touched this. And then we put a quilt show in the event as well. Now I'm touching and it won't go. There we go. So this then was 2018. The train was a-coming. I kind of flattened that out. It wasn't really that much of a poster. That it didn't look like that originally, but anyway, that was the street fair. Then it moved, I moved away, and it became, you can see the poster changed. This was 2019, and I wasn't there. I went down to South Tacoma and worked with the car show, and so that was interesting, doing the car show in South Tacoma. I was the MC for the show there, and that term worked pretty well. Then we rebuilt, come on, stop that, I didn't do that. We rebuilt the street fair back in 22. It skipped a couple of years, 2021 and 20 and 21, and then we brought it back, and that turned out pretty well. It was a nice, it was sort of normal. Now, I'm working with 6th Avenue, and yeah, it's kind of like that. The incredible part of this is it's July 23rd, 2023, on the what am I trying to say? July 23rd, 2023, and it's the 23rd annual. That's what it is. So all the 23s are coming into place. So I'm excited about, now it went backwards. I hit the wrong way. I'll get it. Oh, yeah, and we did the Dickens Festival in Stadium for about 16 years, and this is a picture from one of the indoor spots. I used to be able to do that sort of thing. Wow, that was a long time ago. I could balance a chair on my head. Something everybody should learn, you know, just it's kind of one of those things. Well, events are good places for artists of all kinds, such as musicians. I'm going to let you read it. Everyone can display their work, observations, philosophy, without being in a bar or a closed environment or a church. Yeah. Events give you a freedom that you don't get otherwise. It's a possibility opportunity, I think, is what it's about. And Art on the Ave, 23 years is just amazing. I mean, it was a rebuild last year, so we'll try to put it together. Right now, we've got 5 blocks that we're closing off from Jeanette down to Prospect. We hope to get a couple more on either side of it and build it out a little bit more, but we'll need some more funds to do that. One of the other events that I did in the past was the Veil Prophet Festival in St. Louis, Missouri. And there was a funny story with that. We were doing the show with the Osmond brothers. Actually, the children of the Osmond brothers were on the bill. And they were singing, and lo and behold, a Harrier jet flew right over the top of the stage and parked there in the air. It was incredible. Those kids just kept right on singing. Nobody could hear a thing they were doing, but they kept singing. We also worked with Blackstone the Magician on that, during that. He was on the bill as well. See, then I looked at what the Vail Prophet Festival was all about. And they had problems with it in the recent past. If you look it up, in just last year, or 2019 or 20, the new mayor of St. Louis said, you know, this is kind of like the Ku Klux Klan, the origins of this event. And we had no idea about that, but this is one of the women that got voted the perfect prophet queen in Missouri, you know, so it's just something you can look up. This is from the Moon Festival, and you notice former Mayor Marilyn Strickland, now a council person, is in the background there, and I just thought I would show that for the fun of it. But we originated the Moon Festival, and we did it for 2 years, and then now it's taken off on its own. So this was a poster. I loved this poster. It was a really cool poster. The reflection of the lady in the lake, and then the moon up above. So that was a nice event. This, yeah, any kind of group that you have, that's a production. That's a festival. Anyway, this was at the church. It's just a group that was here. This is one of the original shows that I produced at Winona State College. I directed it, and these are just the people. And I loved that show, Playboy of the Western World by John Millington Singh. And this is Mr. New Tacoma, right? So I wanted to show, this is from the Maritime Festival in Tacoma, which I did several years. And is the only picture I could find that was going on. And this is just, I could have been a physics instructor. If you notice, it's a fork and a spoon balanced on the end of a, I'll show it to y'all sometime if you really want to see it. It's kind of nice. Now this is Dino the Clown and Miss Havisham from the Dickens Festival. And you know the story of Miss Havisham. She was continually looking for her husband because he didn't show up at the altar. And Dino is retired recently. Not only did he clown, but he also rebuilt pianos. If you ever want a piano, he's got them. He's got a whole warehouse full of them. But he's one of the most incredible clowns that I've ever worked with, and I would bring him to every event if I could. But he's retiring now, and he's just working on his book and his piano and stuff like that. And this is, of course, this was Miss Havisham looking for her mate. So, oh, this is the end. I could play my horn now and play taps if you wanted to hear it. That's it. Any questions? That's it.
Are you going to play taps?
Yeah. I happened to bring my horn here. Well, it was in the picture, so I thought maybe I should do it.
Wasn't there some guy in a house in the north end that played taps every day for some years?
Yes,
I think I remember.
but I don't know who it was. I don't think it was me. I don't know. I can't remember. Bill Connolly always came around and wanted me to play taps on the 4th of July. So I did that once in a while. Well, thank you very much. And how about a big round of applause for the first, yeah. I wrote their names down here. Shannon and Marc. Okay, let's bring Lynn back up. She's ready to go. Did I get the right time? I didn't hear the bell.
You did a good job.
Thank you. This might be yours.
yeah, I need that. The next tripod is May 19th, and Rick Simple and Ann Darling will be co-hosting one of the presentations, the Radish Festival of Oaxaca. And then Tobin Ropes will show a collection of his travel photos. And Scott Weichel will show, he's a photographer, and he'll show images of hikes and walks he's done in the Northwest. So our last speaker is Shawn Foote. He's an artist. He was born in Tacoma, and in 1974, before moving with his family to start a cattle ranch in southern Idaho. Shawn grew up in the country before moving back to Tacoma to attend Pacific Lutheran University. He lived in Oregon and Idaho before settling here, where he was hired as a stockbroker for Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. With the ups and downs of the financial world, Shawn found himself yearning to become an artist. He left the financial industry in 2005, moving to Pioneer Square, where he lived in a studio and created art. Foote's studio was in Seattle's historic 619 Western Avenue building, and that was a regular stop during the Pioneer Square First Thursday Art Walk. Kind of a famous place, by the way. Now Shawn's studio is in Tacoma. He currently teaches art at an alternative high school in Spanaway. His body of work spans decades and is inspired by nature, spirituality, current events, and history. Shawn's art often emerges from a process where ideas, experiments, and techniques culminate in pieces that gain a life of their own. Resourcefulness and regular reflection are critical to his work, while curiosity, refined technique, and patience allow his art to develop over time. In the end, art is a meditation and a means of self-expression. Shawn likes to say, "My art is my alchemy." Shawn?
I'm going to set a timer so I can not talk too much. I can. Thank you, Lynn. It's an honor to be here. I'm Shawn. I'm an artist in town. In 2005, I left Tacoma and the financial industry, which I actually had mixed emotions of. I loved the financial industry. I loved helping people grow their investments and aim towards a retirement. And I took my job very seriously. I was fortunate enough to be trained in the Twin Towers in Manhattan, and that was a phenomenal experience coming from Tacoma and Idaho on a cattle ranch. But my heart was always with art. And as the markets were up and down and the corporate kind of weight seemed to infuriate me from time to time, I found myself just wanting to work for myself and just be an artist and maybe draw attention to ideas or things that I couldn't necessarily do in the financial world. So this is a picture of the 619 Western building, positioned in Pioneer Square right next to the viaduct. In fact, it was when the tunnel came around that they actually started boring through the earth and realized that this building was no longer able to support tenants. And so basically all the artists got the boot. And several of us had been in there for years. Not necessarily, quote, technically supposed to live there, but some of us did. It was a cheap place to live downtown. But anyways, my studio was on the 5th floor, and you can see the 2 windows on the second from the top. That was my space. It was an active space, and I really enjoyed, obviously, getting to know not only the people that came through, but I would have musical guests, and I would have guest artists, And of course, they would bring their friends, and the artists would bring their friends, and their friends would bring, and it just grew. And so some of the shows became great opportunities to mix and mingle, meet people, share ideas about what's going on in the world, and actually get involved with being a part of the community. I loved putting my work out there. I loved conversating, and I had a great studio space. And being a part of the Pioneer Square Art Walk was just a great experience, because you basically rode riding everybody else's coattails, and so you got natural exposure. And so it wasn't long before I ended up moving back to Tacoma. I went back to PLU to get my master's, because I had decided at that point that I wanted to teach. I wanted to teach art. And so, however, I did not want to end my exhibition career. I loved a place to share art, to be around other artists, to connect with the community. And so early on, some friends and I helped initiate a space called the Tacoma 1120 Creative House. And this was my studio space in the back there. And we started out the very first event having a space downtown where we could it was a big space. Maybe some of you had been to that building, and we could get lots of involvement from artists around the community, lots of spectators. And so my friend Jim Wallman and I, who were working on a book project called The Super Spectacular, Wildly Fantastic, Extraordinarily Amazing Book of Imagination, we started building this thing called the Fort Gallery, which was a gallery made out of cardboard, and it was for kids to get involved and see art, and you could actually crawl around and see art at the kid level. And obviously all the adults had to go on their knees, and we had carpet, and they could crawl around the space. It was a really fun opening for the 1120. It became an awesome venue where I was fortunate enough to help curate several shows in that space. Not only did I just meet a ton of people from town, I got to sell art from time to time and do art. I had a studio space. This was my actual studio. And you could see that it became a stop on the Tacoma Art Walk. And I was really glad to see Tacoma having visibility for the artists, a place for people to not only create but congregate, talk. And I think the talking and the hanging out, ultimately for me, is the most fun part of, I guess, the art scene or the art world. Engaging with others, mixing and mingling, sharing what's happening in town, what are you up to, what's happening, good to see you type stuff. And it was just fun to be a part of this here in Tacoma. And I think it was just an opportunity for me to also experience the city in a new way. Through Spaceworks, that's what helped me get involved with the 1120 Creative House. They also offered me this opportunity to produce art for the Woolworth windows. And this was kind of like me prepping for them. And as part of this project, there was a windstorm at my house one day, and my fence had blown down. And I'm a school teacher, so I had to go to school, and on my way home, my neighbor was loading all this wood into the back of his truck. And I'm like, hey, Brandon, what's going on? He's like, oh, I'm just going to take this to the dump. I'm going to buy some wood. I'll take care of the fence. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, hey, how about I just take the wood off your hands? And I salvaged the wood, and I made a bunch of frames. And I produced this meditating figure for my Woolworth window display that was based off of the fence that had blown down. So I really enjoy using, obviously reclaimed and natural materials, as I believe the material does speak for itself. This is at the 1120 Creative House. Maybe some of you were at this event. I know some of you were. This was a great conversation about Art Walk, Tacoma Art Walk. And at that time, there was kind of some debate whether it was Art Mingle, was it Art Walk, there's not really a place to walk, how do we do this? But it was a lively discussion. And it was here at this event where I met a great friend of mine, who's still a great friend of mine, named Catherine Hubner. And she is a great artist who's now moved up to Seattle. But she was involved with the Tacoma Artists Group, I believe is the tag. And she informed me that they were looking for an artist to revive this Tacoma arts tradition that had been kind of I guess, dead for 5 years, and they wanted to revive it. And it was called The 100th Monkey. And it was Lynn, obviously, who helped bring The 100th Monkey to its original birth. But I was fortunate enough to be asked to bring it back. And so this was the original poster. It was 2015. And The 100th Monkey was at Willow Eskridge's studio, which is above Puget Sound Pizza. And my art was hung on the walls and had a nice space to curate and exhibit. And we had a heck of a crowd. I was really grateful and just so glad that Tacoma came out for events like this. There was we had performances and spoken word, and it was fantastic. And this was, as the tradition demands, each event is accompanied with 100 art pieces that would be sold for a donation or a couple bucks, and that money would help seed the next 100th monkey. And so I did a 100th monkey tarot card based on some of my artwork, and obviously I love tarot and astrology and some of those things, and so my art was inspired by that. And this happened to be the second 100th monkey, was 2016, that I was a part of. And this was actually spearheaded by a good friend named James Allen Tucker, who had the idea to put this event together in the old post office building. And what has developed since from here was a theme. And so this theme was human trafficking. And there was a few other artists who were involved in this event. There was live performance, spoken word, and each art piece was accompanied with a statistic or a quote about human trafficking, and it was sourced. And it was kind of a somber show, but it was also kind of a raw and a real show, and another great conversation. Here's Layla doing a spoken word, and we're sporting our new 100th Monkey logo that James created. This was a piece that I created for this piece, or for this show. Maybe hard to see, but I guess I do have a sample of that if anybody's interested. I just wanted to share a couple of pictures of my classroom. It's such a vibrant space. I'm just daily inspired by the youth and their creativity, imagination, curiosity, attitude, life issues, the whole shebang. And it's amazing how much art they produce and how much fun my little tiny space can be. And what happened is I just got really admired. I just started admiring their raw artistry. It reminds me of Jean-Michel Basquiat, kind of just this unabashed, just who cares, I'm going to make it. And some of it's just straight to the point. There's no, sometimes it's just, raw and real. But what I noticed in my room was I didn't want to be wasteful. And so I would start pulling stuff out of the recycle bin. And next thing you know, I was creating large pieces out of student essays and worksheets and whatnot. And that led us into the next 100th Monkey that I was a part of, which was called The Human Condition. And this was actually put on by the Tacoma Artists Collective, which was a group of local artists who would meet weekly to establish Tacoma Art Walk, the map, coordinate with venues, curate venues, gather artists, and we hosted a number of events, kind of like the 100th Monkey, but we had the artist gathering, which was, we invited an open call to any artist in town to bring a piece, meet at our studio, and we'd have 30, 40 artists show up and have a great time. But on this particular 100th Monkey, it was another strong turnout. Kayla Germain was featured as a vocalist. Ken Jacobson performed. My piece is the Colin Kaepernick piece right there, and it's all based off of Facebook commentary, very racist commentary. I just printed it out, and it was based on an article. And then there's other other pieces of stuff in that painting. This was James Allen Tucker's piece. And that was our studio space where we hosted the 100th Monkey. And it was at the Happy Belly restaurant. And there's a garage behind there, and that was our space. And then we had another, it was a successful event. We decided to do another one the following year. And we're coordinating not only with the Art Walk, with the Tacoma Artists Collective, but we were trying to, brand as part of the Art Month. We were going to deliberately feature it during October. And Happy Belly, of course, helped sponsor it and provided some food and snacks and whatnot. And I live on a boat. And so at one time I stepped off and my phone just dropped in the water. And I lost all the pictures that this particular 100th monkey that dealt with the environment was all about. But I do have the piece that I made, which was based on salvaged materials. And being that I live on a boat, all of these pieces drifted ashore, a lot of driftwood, and I just captured it and included it. And that kind of led into the next 100th monkey. We just kept them going. And each one had a new theme. This one, again, the Tacoma Artists Collective was a group that was meeting and collaborated on the actual theme. And we had over 40 artists at this one. And Jennifer Moore helped curate this show with me. And we brought in Tupac, which is the Tacoma Performing Arts Collaborative, Tacoma Youth Performing Arts Collective. And they did a wonderful dance routine. We had spoken word, another great turnout. There was live music, and then COVID. And I'm showing this picture of Steve, the owner, one of the owners. Him and Jenny own Stink Cheese and Meat downtown. And they have been a staunch supporter of the Tacoma Art Walk and myself, and I've been curating on their walls. And through COVID, they allowed me to come in there and change the wall space, put in new art. And they kept kind of, at least for me, they kept the visibility of art alive, even though we were all in lockdown. And Stink has continued to be a great supporter. And so I'm excited to be still working with them. And in fact, on May 17th, we are going to do some pre-planning for an October 100th Monkey. If anybody here would like to participate, love to have you come. We're going to be at Stink at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, the 17th, and we're going to talk about the next one. And hopefully we'll gather a venue and whatnot. But ultimately, the 100th Monkey was back after a few years off, and it was a short notice. We kind of had a momentum with Oliver at Fulcrum, and I had just had my own little show there, and we were like, let's do it. We have space and time. And so this particular show was another phenomenal turnout. I think people were excited and thirsty for some art. And so we had more hip-hop performances and music. This one featured Ken Jacobson, who was the featured artist and did 100 origami butterflies. And it was just a great event. And here's Ken performing. Chris Cruz, who's another local artist, does video projections, is projecting his projections onto Ken as he played and performed, and that is my 15 minutes. So, thank you. Happy to take questions if there's any.
What's the name of the school that you teach at now?
Challenger High School in Spanaway.
You sure squeezed a lot into 15 minutes.
Actually, 15 minutes and 36 seconds. Yeah, I probably talked a little fast. Yeah.
What's the theme of the next 100th Monkey?
The theme of the next 100th Monkey is undecided at this point. We have some ideas. We're leaning towards, I think, the world, what the world needs now.
Open up your shirt.
Yeah, right? Oh, that's a good point. I mean, you're right. This is what I was going to wear tonight, but I didn't think it was nice enough. But it does kind of like tell the tale. This is actually my friend Shawn the Shaman, who's a musician. He has a song called Love is Free. And, but yeah, we want to do a show that's more positive and optimistic. And so that's kind of at least the initial thoughts are, let's kind of steer it that way. And
How do people find you?
they don't. that's honestly the issue with visibility as an artist is getting exposure. And so obviously social media has been extremely amazing. You know, for me personally, I have a website, ShawnFoote.com. 100th Monkey has a Facebook page, 100th Monkey on Facebook. Yeah, that's how you can reach me. And you're welcome to, I have a guest book up here. If you like any business cards, you're welcome to come up. I also brought, actually, I'll just end with this. Everybody here who wants one is welcome to have one. I brought the original. I have some of these left. You don't have to pay me any money, but these are the 100th Monkey tarot cards. If you want, take one, pass one, punch yourself. I also have, this is a replica of the Colin Kaepernick painting that was large, but I made it into a sports card. So if you would like one of these, you're definitely welcome to have one of those. Thank you so much.
Any more questions?
Where's your boat?
Narrows Marina. Yeah,
Titlow Beach?
very close. Yeah, right next to the Boathouse 19. Just kind of the way things have worked. I had a house on Stack Hill by Ruston, and sold that place and was still kind of trying to find a spot, and anyways, ended up on a boat that ended up working as a place to live. And my studio is in a boathouse. So park the boat, and the loft is there. So, and then of course my classroom.
Do you have a twin brother?
I have an identical twin brother. I do.
Just so you know.
So is the Spaceworks space closed now?
Yeah, as far as I believe it is, yes.
It's sold, is that?
Yeah, my tenure in the space lasted about a year and a half, and to be quite honest with you, the studio that I was a part of started to grow, and I think it was intimidating for the city to be associated with it. Just was in their words. They love what we're doing, just they can't really be a part of it because there's people over 18, and I think that was part of the issue. So at any rate, we started our own thing called the Tacoma Artist Collective, and that was a great opportunity for us to get together on a regular basis and keep the arts going.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to thank Jennifer Shaw for introducing me to Shawn. And I invite any of you ever to come and talk to me about somebody you think might want to present. So thank you for coming. That's it.